So anything else that you recall from those days that maybe would help reflect on Lazar, his story, his credibility? I mean, you have had a lot of time to think about those days. It was a unique time for all of us. You know, it's hard to recreate what it was like back then, but you've seen how the story is resurfaced because of Jeremy Corbell's film, and it's debated on social media every day. People who were there, who knew Bob before and during those events, and who knew him well, believe him. People who read about it 30 years later on Twitter struggle with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a sincere guy. I mean, look at where he could have probably taken this stuff over the years if he was trying to profit from it or make a big name for himself. I mean, he could have made a lot of money with this. I mean, being a like write a movie or whatever. He's never. Well, I'm telling you this like you don't know, but he's just not that kind of guy. This guy, he's into his projects. He loves science, obviously. He's a guy's just brilliant, one of the most brilliant people I've ever been around. Just no motive to make money from this or seek publicity or anything. He's only tried to get out of the way. He tried to come forth with something that I certainly believe, and I think I've seen enough in my lifetime now and worked around enough of it by now that I thoroughly believe the story, and I believe Bob. Just flat out.
Have you ever had any other hints from people who have had some connection to being out there or worked at the test site and heard other things? Or is there any kind of confirmation, even bits and pieces that have come your way back then or since then?
Well, like I said, I've been retired now for 6 years and pretty much a hermit. My wife and I moved out here to Art Bell country out in Pahrump to get away from civilization. But I mean, over the years, I can think of a couple people here and there that a couple guys being in law enforcement. I was around guys that were like Whack and Hut and some of the other deeper, darker security outfits that were associated with test site, because even Whack and Hut didn't get near Area 51. They just did the perimeters. And I mean, then you got to the more serious guys, you know, if you were to actually make it onto the test site, you get the layers, as everybody knows. And I knew a couple of those guys that always, you know, other than, I think we've discussed it in the past, that, you know, other than knowing something strange is going on, but they couldn't put their finger on it. That's pretty much it. I mean, nobody really talks because they're afraid of the repercussions. And I don't just mean losing a job. It gets a lot more serious about that, especially when they start mentioning your family. If you got a wife and kids, it may be easy, you know, if you have any knowledge at all on how to protect yourself, or if you've been in the business, it's one thing to worry about protecting yourself, but it's entirely a different thing when you're trying to protect your loved ones, and they're vulnerable.
Well, I guess Lazar serves as a good example of that. You know, I know people look at the charges that were raised against him and the attempt to put him in prison for pandering, and they see that as an example of what could happen to somebody who speaks when they shouldn't speak.
Exactly. I mean, you've had your encounters with folks over the years that they're just like, well, take the lady we discussed earlier. I mean, she's one person one day and she gets contacted. She's a completely different person looking over her shoulder the next. Yeah. And she was just not, I mean, she's just your normal, regular lady. I mean, I would have never, it was just by luck that because I was into the culture that we ever had a conversation to begin with. And I guess she trusted me a little bit. So
TJ, thank you for your time.